Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Saturday. So ICAST is coming up. This video is not about ICAST, but this is something that I always pay close attention to when ICAST does roll around because of a couple different baits that were very dominant, and you got to get on the tip of these trends. So anytime there's a big trend, something new, if you are one of the first movers, there is a major advantage in fishing and you can dominate. I mean, that's basically what we're seeing with the forward-facing sonar. The older guys, they didn't learn it. The younger guys have the time to get out there and learn it. But what I look for at ICAST, I think ICAST starts on Wednesday. It's the 15th through the 18th, so it goes through Saturday. But I'm going to take you back to 2014 when a bait called the Whopper Plopper came out. Now, this is a very similar bait to a musky lure called the Gooch's Tallywhacker, probably one of the wildest names I've ever heard for a bait, but it was a jointed bait, had very similar features of the Whopper Plopper, and obviously some guys probably caught some bass on it, and theirs was jointed in that little spinner on the back, and that treble hook would spin. Now, they made it better with the Whopper Plopper, and now we get the Chapo, and I'm sure there's a lot of companies that have that. And that's what you're going to see at ICAST for the most part, is knockoffs. You're going to probably see a lot of fuzzy dice. You're going to see a lot of baits that we've already had, just with different names, different companies. But let's go back to the Whopper Plopper, because in 2014, I was fishing a tournament on Lake Norman, and a guy that was really good on Norman, he won the tournament. Told everybody he was skipping a jig. This was a Bassmaster Open in the fall. He was skipping a jig under docks, and that's his deal, and everybody knows the guy on the lake, and it was no surprise. Well, 3 years after that, I'm fishing with another really well-known bass for tournament angler and Norman guy that you probably all know, and I was his co-angler in a tournament, and we had a fog delay that day. So I sat in the boat with him for like 3 or 4 hours, and we were parked next to a bunch of other boats, and we just talked about fishing. And that week, we were catching them really good on topwater. So he was telling me about his favorite topwater baits, and he told me that he figured out this Whopper Plopper deal on Lake Norman, and he couldn't fish the tournament for some reason, and he was catching 100 spotted bass a day. Now, this was in 2014. As far as I know, I saw the Whopper Plopper in a River to Sea magazine like in 2015, and River to Sea was kind of a new company at that time. They had a lot of really unique baits. I think they were a West Coast company at that time, and they were just kind of moving over to the East Coast, but they had all these unique baits, big swim baits, big single hook with the weights already in the swim baits. I got some like living crayfish that were looked exactly like crayfish, all kinds of different weird things from them in this River to Sea package that I got. But anyways, I remember seeing that Whopper Plopper, and it was so big and so gaudy, I just didn't think anything of it. Well, 2014, it was already figured out by somebody. He couldn't fish the tournament, so he gave it to his best buddy. You can go back and look at the Bassmaster Open from 2014 on Lake Norman, and you'll know who this is, and you'll probably know who his buddy was, but his buddy said, hey, you got to go try this. And again, he was catching 100 fish a day on it. So Whopper Plopper, spotted bass, smallmouth, they love that bait. It's loud. It flat out catches them. Largemouth bite it. I know it's won some tournaments on Table Rock, probably more than some, but it's a really, really good bait. But here's the thing with ICAST and all the new baits that are coming out. When it comes to topwater, if there's a unique sound, that's what they're all looking for. Every year there's a new buzz bait that makes a little bit different noise. Every year there's something new that looks crazy, like a Whopper Plopper, or something that has wings on it, or something that squeaks and squelches and makes a different buzz bait sound. All these baits, we're always looking for that new sound, because when something new, and it could be as much as like the difference between a buzz bait and a horny toad. Fish have never heard it. It's a different pitch. It just gets bit, and to the tune of you can take it out on a spotted bass fishery and catch 100 on it. That's how good it is. I mean, you could take some of these baits out if no one's throwing them. I remember the frog with the sprinker frog. Before anyone got their hands on it, you got to try these new baits. I'm not big into trying new things. You know, I'm pretty simple. I keep my bait selection pretty simple. You've watched any of my videos. I like a jig, I like a crankbait, I like to flip, I like to fish shallow. Throw some topwater in the summer and fall. But when it comes to one type of bait that you should always keep your eye on and really keep your ear to the ground and listen, because if you have something with a different pitch or just something different, makes a different bubble or a different rather action on the top of the water, and they're all gimmicks. You know, everything in fishing is a gimmick until you figure out how to make it work for you. It's not always going to be great. I wouldn't put the Whopper Plopper in the category of like one of the all-time greatest topwaters, but there was a period there where it was way better than everything else, and that's what we're looking for. That's what I always look for. So pay a little bit of attention to ICAST. Again, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. It's going to be a lot of stuff that is just gimmicks and whatever. Who cares? But one thing I always do pay attention to is best in show, topwater. Keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we get something new and cool that catches fish and is completely different, and we can target a bass that we couldn't catch any other way. They haven't been pressured, and we can really exploit a different fish, a bass that had not been ever witnessed before. So let's look at that, try that. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.